One of the darkest days in our nation's history, the January 6th insurrection at the United States Capitol. On that day, a violent mob incited by shameless lies told by a defeated president launched the worst attack on our republic since the
That was the chair of the House Oversight Committee, Carolyn Maloney, at a hearing today about the January 6th insurrection. The committee called on the heads of the Trump Defense Department and DOJ, also the D.C. police chief, to get insight about what led to the insurrection and the response failures that followed. But it was Republicans who stole the show by trying to rewrite the history of an event that we all watched on live television.
Mr. Rosen, was a single individual at or outside the Capitol on January 6th, have they been charged with the crime of insurrection?
Again, if you're asking me about charges that were either made, pending, or being investigated,
Mr. Rosen,
I'm sorry, I'm
thank you
just
once
not
again,
in a position to address those.
Once again, Mr. Rosen, to my knowledge, not a single person has been charged with a crime of insurrection. My constituents demand answers, but the truth is being censored and covered up. As a result, the DOJ is harassing peaceful patriots across the country.
The narrative that President Trump incited riots on January 6th, I don't even understand, Madam Chair, why you yourself don't speak the truth as to what President Trump actually stated. And what he said on the morning of January 6th, he said that I know that every one of you will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard today.
Let me be clear. There was no insurrection, and to call it an insurrection, in my opinion, is a bold-faced lie. Watching the TV footage of those who entered the Capitol and walked through Statuary Hall showed people in an orderly fashion staying between the stanchions and ropes, taking videos and pictures. You know, if you didn't know the TV footage was a video from January the 6th, you would actually think it was a normal tourist visit.
A normal house visit? Tourist visit? It feels to me like that was a stretch because I have been to the Capitol and I've never, ever been on a tour that looked anything like this. Malcolm Nance is back with us. He's a former U.S. intelligence officer and an expert in counterterrorism. Malcolm, what do you make of these attempts to rewrite the narrative of what happened on January 6th of the Capitol insurrection?
I'm going to go right there. These people are pathological liars. I mean, how do they even get up in the morning? They know they're going to lie. They open their mouths and they lie. One of us saw this person team themselves. We saw the moment they went into the Capitol. The fighting on the Western Stairs was furious out there. You know, there was all this talk today. They were saying that Officer Sicknick died of natural causes. You know, if you put 5-10 ounces of pepper spray into someone's throat and then they have a heart attack, the heart attack is natural, but not the way that you died. There were 125 officers injured. People lost fingers, eyes. Other officers, through the stress of it, killed themselves. A woman, another woman, security in order to carry out the last storming of the House chamber, which was full of representatives. The vice president's Secret Service team went weapons out. Okay, that's how serious this thing was. Why does no one call these people out as the liars that they are in real time? Allowing them to platform like that is a disservice to the nation.
I mean, that's such a good point, actually. The fact that these are elected officials and they're lying, they're willfully lying, and they should be held accountable for that, maybe by voters and also the media. But do you think Republicans could be enabling other extremist groups because they are lying about what actually happened on January 6th? They're minimizing it. They're reframing these folks as patriots and denying that there was even an insurrection. Does that embolden other groups to repeat the same behavior in the future?
Absolutely. You know, when I sat down with Bill Maher and I said an insurgency is coming, insurgencies have two components to them. They have a political component, where they meet the goals of destabilizing the legitimate government and collapsing it so that they can form an illegitimate government or a coup d'etat. And then they have a paramilitary component, which is armed people, insurrectionists, terrorists, whatever you want to call them, who gradually and incrementally place pressure to show that that government cannot stop an armed response to this. So it gives you two sides, like the IRA, right? The Irish Republican Army. They had Sinn Féin pressuring to get freedom for the North, and then you had the Provisional Irish Republican Army, a terrorist group and paramilitary group that was doing the fighting. We're not at that point yet. But let me tell you something. Since January 6th, many of these insurgents, and I call them insurgents, that's people who are in this for the long haul, right? Insurrectionists were just what they were on January 6th. Many of these insurgents are planning, and they actually went dark after January 6th to see who would get rolled up by the FBI. And now they're back into active planning because the entire Republican Party has fundamentally decided they will 100% back what happened on January 6th. And it could get bad from here. I mean, like terrorism bad.
So what are the solutions? Because the threat is out there, and if we are in an administration that at least has more than just Christopher Wray acknowledging the potential threat, you have, the entire Justice Department, the national security infrastructure, and the White House all saying this is a potential problem. What can be done about it?
Well, first off, the opposition, the Democratic Party, the 65% of the United States that is not crazy. And I know people say that this is, some form of cultism and that we really can't say that they truly believe these things. No, I'm sorry. As an intelligence professional, I'm going to tell you what these people believe is crazy. It is anti-democratic. It is 100% authoritarian. And they don't seem to believe in the United States that's existed for the last 245 years. And right now, they do not accept, almost 80% of the Republican Party do not accept Joe Biden as president of the United States. They view Donald Trump as a president who has been forced out of power through a coup d'etat. They believe this in their heads, which means they are willing to act on it. And let me tell you, with the price of ammunition on guns going up these days, it's pretty clear they're preparing for more than just doing peaceful protests. Well, the only solution that we can have right now is I think we need to really counter-message hard. We, as Democrats and progressives, or whatever you want to call yourselves, I'm a former Republican, we think that being decent they're going to respond to us being decent. The only way we can do this is to convince all the rest of America that's, spending hours on TikTok that their lives are in danger. Their way of life is at risk. Their neighbors are planning trouble. Is to go out there and you're going to have to start play those videos of congressmen saying it was just a tour group. And then you need to play the videos of people who had put everyone's lives at risk. The Republican Party is no longer a functioning party. It is an insurgent political action group. And they plan to destabilize this government enough to either get back in power and impeach Joe Biden or to collapse the system in its entirety.
Do you see them purely as an anti-democratic party right now?
Yeah, absolutely. They are not a Democratic Party. And I'm sorry, we need to start calling them that. We need to say that the Republicans are anti-democracy party. They are pro-authoritarian. They called for a dictatorship on January 6th. That's what it was all about. Stop the election, stop the certification, put Donald Trump back into power. Today, I believe it was last night, 120 former generals and admirals came out endorsing that Joe Biden constitutes the most dangerous threat to American democracy. That's insane. These people who, by the way, average 80 years old are the junta generals who all think they're going to come back into power. And basically QAnon, that the military is just waiting off in the wings.
I think you cut out right at the end there, Malcolm. Oh, there you're back. I lost you for 1 second there, Malcolm.
I'm sorry.
But basically you were finishing up your point about how dangerous dangerous this threat actually is. And I think that's really what I wanted to hone in on today, because I think that sometimes when we're watching, the day-to-day on Capitol Hill, we get caught up in the drama. But we have to focus on the fact that it is an ongoing national security threat that we should all care about. And we need two sane, functioning political parties, at least, in the United States. We don't have to go yet. So I have time for one more question, Malcolm. So let's tie this up nice and neat. As a regular citizen, as a regular voter, what can you do on a day-to-day basis to combat some of this misinformation, to combat some of these efforts to dismantle, as you say, our democracy?
Well, first off is to be aware, and second off is to start engaging. I know in my little neck of the woods, there are indivisible groups that are now getting together to protest for voting rights, to protest for, anti-disinformation. You have to make it known within your own little world. And this isn't like the equivalent of QAnon people going out and evangelize. This is people coming together and showing political action and pushing that action up to your congressman, your elected representatives. Let me tell you, my congressman is one of the nicest guys in the world. I want him to start getting some fire under him, because this is now dangerous, not just in democracy. We need to raise our voices to reflect how dangerous it is, because being nice, being civil will not work.
Well, that is a lot to take in, but it's important for us to internalize that as we all care very much about our democracy functioning. Malcolm Nance, thank you so much for being here and for helping us understand this really monumental day in American politics. Hi, I'm Zerlina Maxwell. Thanks for checking out our channel on YouTube. You can see more from Zerlina by clicking any of the videos on this screen, and make sure you subscribe below to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. Thanks for watching.